It's characteristic of that Eastwood gang to wait until an old man who is deaf, suffering from Parkinson's, finds the time to turn in to bed to deliver their terrorism, brutality, threats. In this case, it came over in the form of a pussy ball rape call through TikTok feedback systems. I'm familiar with the tactic of pussy ball rape. It reminded me of the girl who taught me sign language, who I've lived without seeing for 20 years because I've been stuck in this circumstance in Seattle, Washington. She was violated as part of this operation. And of course, it was represented by a Zionist symbol of chastity, who was neither bruised nor in any way tarnished after dating me for over a year. But they said, "Not when he looked so fierce," about me, which made everybody laugh, of course. They moved in to try to get the tea kettle to go off. So, what we know about these intruders is that they're deeply Confederate to the United States government and have the blessings of Her Majesty, of course, Penis Gabriel. So one of the things that I wonder is, would it be possible in any way reasonably to have an alliance between the Gaza movement, protect people who are appalled and want to protect the children of Gaza, and the legendary American civil liberties groups in childish Seattle? One of the things that stands in the way, of course, is how childish Seattle really is. And of course, they love to play with fire, which means they're deadly. Childish and deadliness makes for a lethal combustible mix in Seattle. Tomorrow there's a march in which the Seattle Groovies are going to encircle and form their claw around the Muslim resistance to atrocity that I consider myself I'm a protester with. But to do such a thing is to develop a reasonable partnership between those two groups. You would have to be able to understand the alliance that's built to defy such a development. And this comes from the history of rock and roll society and the AIDS attack. There's nothing new about the way that Gaza has been isolated. The isolation that I endured was a result of the same cutting off from community support. Gaza is surrounded by a whole world of people in tears who care, who want to protect them, who can't get anywhere near them. Just as the people who love me in Pittsburgh never wanted to see me leave. Well, in order to see through what Mick Jagger has done in going to Tel Aviv, you would have to admit that they were behind these attacks on me and on a generation all along. The evidence is certainly there. It's certainly clear. Gail Burston appears on the cover of one of their records in Similitude from 1979, which means that my research is consistent with their own self-representation. They were behind these attacks, and there's no mistaking it. But they use me as their sale for a controversial claim that John Lennon died. It's controversial not to them, but to me, because for one thing, I would never have done anything remotely connected to that. Another reason is that I was targeted because his wife despised my father, a veteran of the Pacific Fleet in the U.S. Navy. But last but not least, all the evidence is against the claim. I have presented this evidence in my work. I've never withheld my findings. It traces to blood cinders, which means blaze from the cinders. It was a Phoenix program. Double fantasy is predicated on you only live twice. And where double is there, as Eastwood called where eagle's there. It was all a game plan for them, of restructuring our understanding and making things difficult to live by so they can pull music as a tonic for their genocide construct. Well, everybody likes to sit around listening to David Bowie's Diamond Dogs, I guess. And Peter Gabriel stirred the pot with his mind blender ideas. So they just said, listen to Trump, he has a bag of gold, and we're going to have a right pussy ball game over the bag of gold. And this is what American Corrections has worked with LA criminal gangs in the Jericho cult to perform for our society. And I'm obviously somebody who's just an ordinary non-entity who would have been a professor or, go about my business and write poetry. And they don't pay me for my work. I mean, they say if you don't want to be pussy ball raped yourself, then you'll stop talking about the way we made genocide pornography for our black market Sotheby's, courtesy the Church of England. And obviously, that's the research element that's involved. Gaza would have to say we can live with different lifestyles even though we don't approve. But it's not so simple for the gay community. They have gone along with the genocidal attack in the name of Yoko Ono. So they realize that they're going to have to control the narrative about Gaza. And I'm sure most of UW dialectical, knowing their sadism, their childishness, and their horrible destructiveness, are gloating with Mick Jagger. Even though they paid an awful price, they are gloating with Jagger.